30-year anniversary. Outstanding. The 70s. The disco era was winding down. Dave Sprinson needed something else to do. Traded in his leisure suit and hung up that wall with the mirrors on it and said, I'm going to do something else. I remember it, Dave. Dave and I were talking and remembering the beginning. And it is quite incredible to think, 30 years, and I know you sit there, as you said, I was like a proud papa, and you see the growth and evolution of this organization, and you and Marge and the originators have done something very special, and it's had a huge impact. You know, when I think about the Long Island Progressive Coalition, I think about this history, and I listen to the fellow honorees and all of us that have been talking today. You know, Long Island is a very different place than it was 30 years ago, and it really is quite remarkable. And it is a time not with a way of self-satisfaction or smugness that we should pat ourselves on the back for the difference that the coalition has made, the individuals who are part of the coalition, the organizations who are part of the coalition. What an incredible difference. Look at the landscape of this wonderful community of Long Island and how different it is. I mean, just in terms of the political leadership and how people react to issues. Our work isn't done, we all know that, but all the seeds that have been planted for all those years, it's had an incredible impact. That also gives me not only a sense of satisfaction, but I'm a little scared too. I'm a little scared because for all the years that I've been involved, when you look at the national leadership and you look at the state leadership and you look at the local leadership on Long Island, we've never had it this good. We've never had a time where, I never had an election where like everybody I voted for won. I mean, I never had something like that, ever, growing up around here. But we got it now. But what are we going to do with it? And what can we do with it in the face of seemingly overwhelming and insurmountable challenges and problems? Not of our making. The other coalition did that, you know. And how wonderful it is, and even look at the voting patterns of the communities across Nassau and Suffolk County, that people for the first time understood that those that were talking in a different way, have been talking for a long time in this way, about a different vision for a notion about justice and quality communities, and a clean environment, all the things that are represented by the honorees today and what the coalition about. People said, yeah, I'm going to support that. I'm going to vote for that. Some of that was rejecting what we've been living with, but some of it also was a leap of faith. To say maybe those folks, like those folks at LIPC, maybe they can do better for us on Long Island and in New York and in the United States of America. But that's what makes me scared, because it's our time to do it right. And I don't know if 2 years from now, or 10 years from now, or at the 60th anniversary, what the landscape is going to be like. The challenge for us as progressives, with all of the causes and issues that we care about, and that keep us together, we need to seize upon this opportunity. Not to retreat or say, wow, we've achieved so much, but rather to continue to do what for 30 years, with the inspired vision of David and others who founded this network, wanted us to do. Define in detail and in specifics what we mean by a progressive future. Define in detail and specifics how we can make our counties and our state and our country a better place. Support the people who are willing to support the causes and the issues and the specific agenda that knits us together as progressives. It is a time for us to redouble our efforts with optimism that we've been allowed this moment in our nation's history and in our Long Island history where folks have said the people who are most sensitive to your agenda are going to have the reins of power. We're going to see what they can do with it. And for people like me who are in elective office, we need you, the advocates and the organizations and the activists, not just to support us, that's the easy part, you do that already, but to keep our feet to the fire, to remind us what we mean by government reform, to remind us what we mean when we say this is how we're going to make a sustainable and a quality community, and the whole list of issues that we care about and that we think about. I love what the coalition stands for, because another word that's been used a lot today is what it's been about for me. This is community to me. You know, I grew up in a kind of conservative area of this Long Island community, but even in the most conservative areas, there were always folks that had a sense about what a progressive future was about. And the opportunity then to link up with people in my immediate neighborhood and people not too far away, and then in my adopted home, I'm sitting with so many of my friends from Great Neck, which has always been a bastion of progressivism. You're not going to let it change, right, Great Neck? You're not going to let it change. And we're caring about issues of course, and we care about each other. You know what it means to me to receive this award? It means a lot, and part of it is because it's named for somebody, Paul Gutierrez. And the organization is old enough. I'll bet you there are a number of people who don't know Paul. And maybe you've seen his name before on the programs. But how many people here remember Paul and work with Paul like I did? That's too bad. It's too bad it's not more. This was an extraordinary individual. He wasn't the one to be up front with the microphone. He was the one to be at the table in the back, making sure that everything was taken care of. He wasn't the one to get the acclaim or the recognition, but he was the one to be there first for the event and the last one out the door to help make it happen. People like Paul Gutierrez is who I got to meet through the progressive community on Long Island. Bill Pickering, I can't add to what Brian said. What a great representative of labor, but more importantly, what a great representative of humanity. And how wonderful it is that we're not forgetting him, and more importantly, we're reinforcing how important labor is to the progressive community, and we have an award that forever is going to be in his name. And we're going to always cherish our memory of Bill Pickering. And people who don't have awards named for them. But when I think of the Progressive Coalition, especially when I'm sitting with my Great Neck friends, who could ever forget Madge Kaplan? Right? Who could ever forget Madge Kaplan? This is the network of people who, the LIPC, examples of them, that you've knitted us all together. As a kid growing up in Albertson, going to Middle High School, living in Great Neck for a few years, would I ever have met so many of my friends across Nassau and Suffolk County who cared about the issues that I care about? If there wasn't a progressive coalition, the answer is no. Would I be in the position that I'm in today if I didn't have the support of people who think like me on Long Island? Absolutely not. Would we have the kind of leadership we have at the county, state, and local level on Long Island if this coalition didn't exist? Absolutely not. Would people think of the Long Island 1970s? Would people have ever imagined, because of the work of the people in this room, how people now think of Long Island in a very different way? So I am honored to receive this recognition, but more importantly, I am really humbled to count each and every one of you as colleagues in the fight for the future, as friends on a very personal and a very special level. And I just want you to have that sense that I have. I'm thrilled with where we brought our community. And I'm very concerned about the future, but I know this is our time, and it's our opportunity to seize and prove to people that what we were saying all along was the way to look at things. Thank you for your great work, and keep it up.